The marketplace was alive with strange sounds and colors. Tall alien creatures walked on metal legs, their bodies glowing with faint lights. Others floated in the air, wrapped in cloth that shimmered like water. The smell of smoke, spices, and oil mixed together, making the air heavy. The human Captain Raynor walked slowly through the crowd. His eyes searched every corner. Raynor had been to many worlds, but this market felt different. Something was wrong here. The traders shouted, waved their goods, and tried to pull him closer. He ignored them. He had no interest in alien fruit or glowing weapons. He was only here to look for information. Then he heard it. A voice soft but filled with fear. "Can you buy me and take me as your slave?" Raynor stopped walking. The voice was quiet, but it cut through the noise of the market. He turned his head. There near the edge of a stall was a girl. She was not human. Her skin was pale silver, almost shining under the weak light. Her eyes were large and bright, glowing faintly blue. A metal collar was locked around her neck with a chain connected to a heavy post in the ground. She sat on the floor like a prisoner, her hands shaking. The words repeated, almost a whisper this time. "Please buy me. Take me away." Raynor frowned. His first thought was that he had misheard her. But the girl's lips moved, her eyes fixed on him. She was speaking to him. Before he could answer, a loud laugh came from the stall. The owner, a fat alien with 4 arms and dark skin like stone, stepped forward. "Don't waste your credits, human. That one is broken, worthless." Raynor looked at the merchant, then back at the girl. She was staring at him, her expression desperate. She looked young, but there was something strange in her gaze. Not just fear. Something more. "Why is she chained like this?" Raynor asked. The merchant shrugged, his wide mouth spreading into a grin. "Her people lost their war. Their planet is ash. Now they are slaves. This one, she was left behind. No one wants her, too weak, too quiet." He kicked the chain with his heavy boot. The girl flinched but made no sound. Raynor felt anger stir inside him. He had seen slavery before. He had seen men and women reduced to numbers, sold like objects. But something about this girl was different. She had asked him directly. She had chosen him. Why me? Raynor muttered half to himself. The girl's lips trembled. Her voice cracked, but her words were clear. "Because you are human, and humans are not like them. You still know mercy." Raynor's chest tightened. For a moment he felt the weight of her words. Mercy. It was a simple word, but on worlds like this it was rare. The merchant laughed again. "Don't listen to her tricks. Her kind are liars. They pretend to be weak, but they cause trouble. If you want a real servant, buy one of these strong ones." He pointed to a group of large alien slaves standing in silence nearby. Raynor ignored him. His eyes stayed on the girl. She was thin, her clothes torn, her knees bruised from the rough ground. But her eyes were alive. Even chained, she looked as if she carried a secret too heavy for her small body. "Please," she whispered again. "Take me away." Raynor stepped closer. The crowd seemed to fade around him. The shouting, the smells, the strange lights, all of it grew distant. There was only the girl and her voice. "Why should I?" he asked softly. The girl's head lifted. For the first time, she looked straight into his eyes. "Because if you don't, they will kill me tonight." Raynor's breath caught. He saw no lie in her face, no trick. Only fear and a desperate hope. The merchant growled. "Enough, human, do not waste my time. If you want her, pay. If not, walk away." Raynor hesitated. His mind raced. Buying a slave was not what he had planned. It could draw attention. It could make enemies. But leaving her here felt impossible. Her eyes begged him. Blue light glowed softly in the dark, pulling him in. He remembered the wars he had fought, the innocents he could not save. Was this his chance to make a different choice? The chain rattled as the girl moved slightly, pulling against it. Her hands shook as she whispered one last time, "Please, I would rather belong to you than die here." Raynor's fists tightened. He knew this was the moment. The kind of moment that changes everything. The marketplace suddenly felt colder. Shadows moved at the edges. Strange eyes turned toward him, watching, waiting. Raynor understood something then. This was not just about saving a girl. This was the start of something bigger, but he could not walk away. He took a deep breath and stepped closer to the merchant. "How much?" The alien's grin widened, showing sharp yellow teeth. "For her, too much. But maybe, for you, human, I can make a deal." Raynor felt the girl's eyes on him, burning into his back. He knew there was no turning back now, and somewhere, deep in the crowd, another pair of eyes watched silently, eyes that belonged to someone who would not let her go so easily. The bargain. The alien merchant's grin stretched wider as Captain Rayner stood before him. The fat creature's forearms folded across his chest, and his heavy tail thumped against the ground. The marketplace noise continued around them, but Rayner felt as if the world had narrowed to just this stall, this girl, and this decision. She is nothing but trouble, the merchant said, his voice rough like gravel. Still, if you truly want her, I will sell, but you must pay the right price. Rayner's eyes flicked to the girl. She sat silently, her small hands clutching the chain near her collar. Her silver skin caught the light, making her look fragile, almost unreal. Yet her glowing blue eyes never left him. It was as if she was willing him to act. What's the price? Rayner asked. His tone was steady, though his stomach felt tight. The merchant rubbed his thick chin with one hand, pretending to think. For you, 10,000 credits. Rayner narrowed his eyes. 10,000? For a girl you just called worthless? The merchant laughed, showing yellow teeth. Worthless to me, maybe. But to you, human, she is valuable. You already believe it. I see it in your face. Rayner hated that the alien was right. He had never planned to buy a slave, but something about the girl made it impossible to walk away. That price is too high, Rayner said firmly. The merchant leaned closer, lowering his voice. Then why are you still here? Why are you not walking away? You want her. So pay. Rayner stayed silent. He was calculating. He didn't want to reveal how many credits he actually carried. He also didn't want to show desperation. The merchant's tail tapped the ground again. Fine, 9,000. Final offer. Rayner crossed his arms. 2,000. The merchant's eyes widened, then narrowed in anger. Do not insult me, human. This is no bargain bin. She is rare. One of the last of her kind. Rayner tilted his head. If she's so rare and valuable, why keep her chained here in the dirt? Why hasn't anyone else bought her? The question struck like a knife. For a moment, the merchant's smile faltered. Then it returned, thinner, sharper. Because others are afraid. Her people. They say she carries secrets. Dangerous ones. But you, human, maybe you are foolish enough not to care. Rayner's pulse quickened. Dangerous secrets. He glanced at the girl. She lowered her eyes quickly, as if hiding something. 5,000, Rayner said. That's my offer. The merchant slammed a heavy fist against the stall. Nearby shoppers glanced their way, but quickly turned back to their business. No one wanted trouble with this seller. You play a dangerous game, human, the alien growled. But fine, 5,000. And when she brings you nothing but pain, remember this moment. Rayner reached into his jacket and pulled out a small black disc. He pressed it against the stall's payment pad. The machine beeped, confirming the transfer. The chain rattled as the merchant unlocked it with a large brass key. The girl flinched as the collar clicked open. For the first time, she lifted her hands to her neck, touching the skin beneath as if she couldn't believe it was real. She's yours now, the merchant said, his voice dripping with mockery. May the stars curse your kindness. Rayner ignored him. He reached out a hand. The girl hesitated, then slowly placed her trembling fingers into his. Her skin was cold, but the grip was firm. You're free now, Rayner said quietly. But the girl shook her head. No, I am not free. Not yet, Rayner frowned. What do you mean? She looked around nervously, her voice dropping to a whisper. They will not let me leave. They will come for me. Rayner felt a shiver crawl down his spine. He glanced over his shoulder. The marketplace seemed the same. Traders shouting, creatures walking, the glow of strange lamps. But now it felt different. He noticed shadows that lingered too long, eyes that turned away too quickly. The merchant chuckled darkly. Listen to her, human. She knows the truth. You cannot run from it. Already there are hunters watching. They will not allow their prize to slip away so easily. Rayner's jaw tightened. He gripped the girl's hand tighter and pulled her away from the stall. Wait, the merchant called after him. One last warning. She is not what she seems. She will bring you into something far larger than you imagine. And when it happens, do not say I didn't warn you. Rayner didn't look back. He guided the girl into the crowd, weaving between stalls and pushing through the press of bodies. The noise of the market returned, but now every sound carried a hint of danger. The girl walked beside him, still holding his hand, her eyes wide and alert. You should not have bought me, she whispered. It will cost you everything. Rayner glanced at her, his voice low but firm. Then you better make it worth the price. The girl did not answer. But for a brief second, a flicker of something passed across her face. Not just fear. Something sharper. Something like determination. And Raynor understood one thing with chilling clarity. This bargain was not the end. It was the beginning. The escape, the crowd swallowed them as Captain Raynor pulled the silver-skinned girl deeper into the market. The bright lights and noisy stalls should have hidden them, but Raynor could feel the stares. Someone was watching. Maybe many someones. The girl kept her head low, her glowing blue eyes darting from side to side. She clutched the sleeve of Raynor's coat as though letting go would mean death. "Don't look back," she whispered. Her voice was urgent, sharp. "If you look back, they will know you are afraid." Raynor didn't answer. His instincts already told him she was right. He had lived long enough among criminals, smugglers, and slavers to know when he was being hunted. They turned down a narrow path between two tall stalls. The smell of rotting food and burning oil filled the air. Strange machines hummed and hissed around them. Raynor quickened his pace, but the girl tugged his arm suddenly. "No, not that way. They will cut us off." Raynor stopped. "How do you know?" Her eyes glowed faintly, like twin lamps in the shadows. "Because I can feel them. They move like shadows, always circling." Before Raynor could reply, a voice barked from behind them. "Stop, human!" He turned his head slightly and saw three tall figures pushing through the crowd. Their faces were hidden under dark helmets. Each carried a long weapon strapped across the chest. The girl's grip tightened. "Run!" Raynor didn't hesitate. He grabbed her hand and pulled her into a side alley. The hunters shouted, their heavy boots pounding against the ground. The alley twisted and turned, lined with trash, broken pipes, and dripping wires. Raynor knew he couldn't outrun them for long. He needed to think fast. "There!" The girl pointed to a narrow stairway that led up between two buildings. Without waiting, she pulled him toward it. Raynor followed. They climbed quickly, the rusty steps shaking under their weight. Below, the hunters' voices echoed. One fired a shot. A red bolt of energy slammed into the wall near Raynor's head, sending sparks flying. Raynor ducked, shielding the girl with his body. Then he pushed her upward. "Go, move!" They reached the top and stumbled onto a rooftop. The wind hit them, carrying the smell of smoke and metal from the city. Neon signs glowed in the distance, casting colors across the night sky. Raynor scanned the roof. No cover, no doors, just endless flat metal stretching to the next building. The girl pulled him toward the edge. "We must jump." Raynor stared at the gap. It was wide, too wide. "That's insane." "We'll fall." Her eyes met his. "Do you trust me?" The hunters burst through the stairwell below. Shouts grew louder. Weapons hummed, ready to fire. Raynor cursed under his breath. "Fine, go." The girl ran, her chain-scarred ankles moving with surprising speed. She leapt across the gap, her body twisting in midair. She landed on the next roof and rolled to her feet. Raynor ran after her. His boots pounded against the metal. He pushed hard, jumped, and barely caught the edge of the opposite roof. His fingers clung to the ledge as his legs dangled over the open air. The girl dropped to her knees, grabbing his wrist with both hands. For someone so thin, her strength was startling. She pulled, and with a final push, Raynor scrambled up beside her. Blaster fire burned across the rooftop behind them. The hunters had reached the edge but did not jump. They stared, helmets reflecting the neon lights. One raised a communicator to his mouth, speaking in a harsh alien tongue. "They will not stop," the girl whispered. "They will keep hunting us." Raynor studied her. "Why you? Why do they care so much?" Her face tightened. She looked away. "Because I know something they cannot let escape. Something they fear." Raynor's suspicion grew, but there was no time for questions. He guided her across the roof and down another stairwell. They moved through dark alleys, slipping between shadows, until the noise of the hunters faded behind them. At last they reached a quieter district. The market sounds were distant now. Here broken ships lay abandoned, their metal hulls rusting in silence. Raynor stopped, breathing heavily. "We're safe for now. Sit. Rest." The girl sank onto a piece of scrap metal, her chest rising and falling quickly. She hugged her knees, still trembling. Raynor crouched in front of her. "Tell me the truth. What's going on? Who are they? Why do they want you so badly?" For a moment she didn't answer. Then she lifted her eyes, the blue glow brighter in the dark. "My name is Solara," she said softly. "I was born on a world that no longer exists. My people built something powerful, something the others wanted. When the war came, they killed us, but they could not erase the secret. I am the last one who remembers it. Raynor felt a chill. What kind of secret? Solara shook her head. Not here, not now. If I tell you, they will find us faster. Raynor leaned back. Her words only deepened the mystery, but he could see the fear in her face was real. She wasn't lying. He stood and scanned the shadows. Then we need a place to hide. Somewhere they won't look. Solara nodded slowly, her silver skin shining faintly under the broken street lamps. Yes, but hiding will not be enough. They will chase us until the end. You should have left me there. Raynor turned to her, his voice firm. Too late for that. You're with me now. Solara's lips pressed into a thin line. For the first time, she almost smiled. But behind her eyes, the weight of her secret still burned, and Raynor knew their escape was only the beginning. The truth revealed. The night was quiet in the scrapyard. Rusted ships stood like dead giants, their broken hulls leaning against each other. The wind whistled through empty vents and shattered windows. It was the kind of place where no one wanted to linger, which made it perfect for hiding. Captain Raynor led Solara inside the shell of an old freighter. The floor was covered in dust and scattered wires. A faint smell of burned metal hung in the air. He checked every corner before finally lowering his guard. This will do, he muttered. At least until sunrise. Solara sat on a broken crate. Her silver skin glowed faintly in the dark, and her blue eyes followed him as he paced the room. She looked small, fragile, but Raynor had already seen there was more to her than fear. You need to explain, Raynor said at last. His voice was calm but firm. Those hunters weren't just slavers. They were organized. They knew exactly who you were, why. Solara's fingers traced the edge of her collarbone where the metal collar had been. The skin there was raw, red from years of chains. She did not look at him when she spoke. My people, we were called the Lithari. We lived on a world of oceans and silver skies. We were not strong like others, but we had knowledge. We built machines, great ones, machines that touched the stars. It was our gift. Her voice trembled, but she forced herself to continue. Then the war came. A coalition of empires. They wanted our machines. They wanted the secret that powered them. We refused. We believed some knowledge should never be given away. So they burned our cities. They drowned our seas. They made sure our name would be forgotten. Raynor stopped pacing. He had seen destroyed worlds before, but hearing it spoken like this struck something deep inside him. You were there? He asked. Solara's eyes shimmered. I was a child. I saw the sky burn red. I saw my parents dragged away. They killed the old ones first because the old ones carried the most knowledge. But I remembered. I remembered everything they taught me. Her voice broke for a moment. She pressed her hands to her face, then lowered them slowly. They chained me because I am the last one. The secret they wanted, it lives inside me. Raynor crouched down so his eyes were level with hers. What secret? Solara shook her head quickly. I cannot tell you. If I speak it aloud, they will know. They always know. That is why they hunt me across the stars. That is why they will never stop. Raynor frowned. Are you saying they can hear you? Sense you, she nodded. The knowledge is not just memory. It is alive, like fire. When I think about it too much, when I try to shape it into words, it calls to them. That is how they find me. Raynor let her words sink in. It sounded impossible, but something in her trembling voice told him it was true. He had seen stranger things in this galaxy. So, he said slowly, you carry something they want, something they fear. And now because I bought you, I'm part of it. Solara's eyes filled with guilt. I tried to warn you. You should have walked away. Raynor stood and crossed his arms. Maybe, but I didn't. Silence filled the broken freighter. Only the wind outside whispered against the hull. Finally, Solara whispered, Do you regret it already? Raynor looked at her for a long moment. Then he shook his head. No, I regret a lot of things in my life, but not this. Not saving you. For the first time, her lips curved into a small, fragile smile. It faded quickly, but Raynor saw it. Still, he had questions. Too many. What happens now? You can't stay hidden forever. What's your plan? Solara hesitated, then leaned forward, her voice dropping to almost nothing. There is one place they fear. A place they will not follow easily. It is where my people kept the last machine. If I can reach it, I can end this. Raynor's eyes narrowed. End this how? Her gaze hardened, more steel than fear now. By using the machine. By turning their own hunger against them. But I cannot reach it alone. That is why I needed you. Raynor blinked. You chose me. back in the market. You knew, Solara nodded. Yes, I felt it, humans. You are different. You do not obey the empires. You resist and you looked at me like I was a person, not a thing. Raynor exhaled slowly. The weight of her words pressed on him. This was no accident. He hadn't just stumbled into her story, she had pulled him into it. Before he could respond, a noise echoed from outside. Metal shifting. Boots crunching gravel. Solara's eyes widened. She pressed a finger to her lips. Raynor drew his blaster quietly and moved to the doorway. He peered through a crack in the hull. Figures moved in the shadows. Dark shapes, careful and silent. Hunters. They had already found them. Raynor's pulse quickened. He turned back to Solara. Her face was pale, but her eyes blazed. You see? She whispered. They always come. There is no hiding. Only running. Or fighting. Raynor gritted his teeth. He had wanted answers, and now he had them. The truth was worse than he expected, but one thing was clear. This girl, this Solara, was no ordinary slave. She was a storm waiting to break, and whether he liked it or not, he was caught in it. The pursuit, the sound of boots on gravel grew louder outside the broken freighter. Captain Raynor pressed his back against the wall, blaster drawn. His heartbeat matched the rhythm of the steps. Solara crouched behind a crate, her glowing eyes fixed on the door. They're here, she whispered. Raynor gave a sharp nod. Stay low. Don't move until I say. A shadow stretched across the doorway. The metal door frame creaked as one of the hunters leaned against it. For a brief second, silence. Then crash. The door was kicked open. A figure in black armor stepped inside, weapon raised. His visor glowed faint red, scanning the dark room. Raynor fired first. A bright bolt hit the hunter's chest plate, throwing him back into the wall. Sparks danced across the armor, but the alien wasn't dead. He growled, raising his rifle. Raynor ducked as a blast of red energy tore through the crate beside Solara. Splinters of metal sprayed into the air. Solara gasped but didn't scream. She crawled behind a larger piece of debris, her body shaking but her eyes sharp. 2 more hunters stormed in, their weapons glowing. Raynor cursed under his breath. Outnumbered, he rolled across the floor, firing again. A shot clipped one hunter's arm, spinning him sideways. Another bolt grazed past Raynor's shoulder, burning the edge of his jacket. Solara pressed her hands against the floor, whispering something under her breath. The metal around her seemed to hum, faint vibrations spreading through the room. The hunters paused for a moment, confused as if they felt it too. Solara, Raynor shouted. What are you doing? She didn't answer. Her eyes glowed brighter, the blue light spilling across her silver skin. The metal beam above the hunters shook violently, then snapped. It crashed down, pinning one of them beneath it. The others stumbled back in shock. Raynor blinked. Well, that's new. Solara looked pale, drained, but she whispered urgently. We have to run, now. Raynor fired 2 more shots to cover them, then grabbed her hand. They bolted through the rear opening of the freighter. The cold night air hit their faces as they dashed into the scrapyard. Behind them, the hunters roared in anger. Raynor and Solara sprinted between broken ships and piles of rusted metal. The ground was uneven, littered with sharp debris. Raynor's boots crunched loudly, but Solara moved almost silently, her bare feet light against the dirt. Red beams of energy flashed past them, striking the junk piles. Explosions of sparks lit the night. They won't stop, Solara cried, her voice carrying both fear and certainty. I noticed, Raynor shot back, ducking as another blast scorched the metal above his head. They turned a corner and found themselves trapped at a dead end. A wall of wreckage towered over them, too high to climb quickly. Solara's breath caught. We're trapped. Raynor raised his blaster, eyes scanning the shadows. Then we make a stand. The hunters closed in, their dark figures spreading out, cutting off escape. Their visors glowed like red eyes in the dark. Raynor fired, hitting one square in the chest. The alien staggered but kept moving. Another shot flew past Raynor's cheek, searing the air. He returned fire, dropping one of them to the ground, but there were too many. Solara clutched her head, her voice breaking. They'll kill us. They'll kill you because of me. Raynor grabbed her shoulder. Listen to me. You're not dying here. Not tonight. Her eyes locked with his, wide with fear. Something inside her shifted. The glow in her gaze grew brighter, almost blinding. The ground beneath their feet vibrated. The broken ships around them groaned as if alive. The hunters hesitated, weapons raised but their bodies tense. Solara raised her hands, her voice strong now. "Leave us." The junk piles exploded outward. Sharp pieces of metal flew like knives, slashing into the hunters. Sparks lit the air as armor cracked and weapons clattered to the ground. Raynor shielded his face, stunned by the force. When the dust settled, 2 hunters lay unmoving. The others staggered back, their armor scorched, their helmets cracked. For the first time, Raynor saw fear in their movements. "Retreat," one barked in an alien tongue. The surviving hunters backed away, disappearing into the shadows. Silence returned, broken only by Solara's shaky breathing. She dropped to her knees, her body trembling violently. Raynor knelt beside her, gripping her arms. "Solara, are you hurt?" She shook her head weakly. "No, but using it burns me. I cannot do it often." Raynor looked at the wreckage around them. Twisted metal, broken armor, blood on the ground. His mind raced. "That wasn't just knowledge," he said slowly. "That was power. Something alive inside you." Solara's eyes filled with tears. "It is the machine. The last machine of my people. It lives in me now. And they will never stop until it is theirs." Raynor exhaled sharply. He finally understood why the hunters were so relentless. She wasn't only carrying a secret. She was the secret. He stood, scanning the shadows for any sign of the hunters' return. "Then we need to move." Before they regroup, Solara looked up at him, her eyes still glowing faintly. "You should leave me. I am too dangerous." "You saw it yourself." Raynor shook his head. "I've fought wars, Solara. I've seen real monsters. You're not one of them. You're worth fighting for." Her lips trembled. For the first time, she didn't argue. Raynor helped her to her feet. Together, they slipped into the dark alleys beyond the scrapyard. The broken city stretching out before them. The hunt was far from over. But Raynor knew one thing. Whatever this machine inside her was, it had just changed everything. The hidden power. The night stretched long as Captain Raynor and Solara moved through the abandoned districts. The glow of neon markets faded behind them, replaced by hollow silence. Towers of rusted ships loomed like skeletons against the dark sky. Raynor kept his blaster drawn, his senses sharp. Every corner felt like a trap. The hunters might return at any moment. But what troubled him more was the girl walking at his side. Solara's steps were slow, her body weak from what she had done in the scrapyard. He glanced at her. "You almost collapsed back there. That power, whatever it is, nearly killed you." Solara shook her head, her silver hair brushing against her face. "It did not kill me. It drains me. Each time I use it, I feel pieces of myself slipping away, but I cannot let them take me." "Not alive," Raynor frowned. "You're not dying while I'm here. Understand?" Her blue eyes flicked toward him, faintly glowing in the dark. For a moment, she said nothing. Then quietly, "You don't understand, Captain. I am the machine now." Raynor slowed his pace. "Explain." Solara stopped beneath the shadow of a broken starship. The wind howled through its hollow frame, carrying her voice softly as she spoke. "My people built something beyond weapons, beyond ships. We called it the core of Lether. It was not metal or stone. It was thought shaped into energy. A machine of living memory. It could change matter, bend metal, even tear apart fleets with a single command." Her hands trembled as she held them up. "When the empires came to steal it, my parents hid the core inside me. They merged it with my blood, my mind, my soul. That is why I am hunted. I am not just the last of my kind. I carry my people's greatest weapon inside me." Raynor felt a chill crawl down his spine. He had heard of ancient weapons, strange relics, forgotten technologies, but nothing like this. "That's what you used back there," he said. "You pulled the metal down on them." Solara nodded. "Yes, but the core is not endless. It burns through me. I must be careful. If I lose control, it will consume me." Raynor's jaw tightened. "So, either they kill you or this thing inside you does." Her face turned away, sorrow heavy in her expression. "That is why I begged you to leave me. My fate is already written." Raynor stepped closer, his voice steady but sharp. "No, listen to me. Nothing is written. If that machine is inside you, then it can be controlled. You're still alive. That means you're stronger than it. And I don't leave people behind, Solara. Not ever." Her eyes widened slightly at his words. For a moment, the hard mask of fear cracked and something gentler shone through. hope. But the silence did not last. A faint humming noise echoed from above. Raynor froze. He looked up and spotted a dark shape gliding through the clouds. An armored drone, its red sensor scanning the ruins below. Down, he hissed, pulling Solara against the wall of the broken ship. The drone's light swept across the yard, slow and deliberate. Solara pressed close, her breathing sharp and uneven. Her glowing eyes were too bright in the dark. "They'll see me," she whispered. Raynor grabbed her chin gently, forcing her to meet his gaze. Then shut it off. "Whatever it is, hide it." Solara closed her eyes tightly. Her body tensed as if fighting something inside her. Slowly the glow faded, leaving only darkness. The drone hovered overhead, its sensor beam brushing across their hiding place. Raynor held his breath, his hand on the trigger of his blaster. The beam paused for a moment, then moved on. The drone drifted away, its hum fading into the night. Raynor exhaled slowly. Too close. Solara opened her eyes again, the faint blue glow returning. She whispered, "I can feel them, Captain." "Not just the hunters. The core lets me sense them, like shadows in the distance waiting." Raynor looked at her carefully. "Can you use it to guide us? To find a path they can't see?" Her lips parted in surprise. "Maybe, but it's dangerous. If I reach too far, they will feel me reaching. It's like fire. If I touch it too long, it burns." Raynor gave a small, grim smile. "Then we take the risk. Better to walk into fire than wait here to die." Solara hesitated, then nodded. She placed a hand against the metal wall of the ship. Her eyes glowed brighter, and for a moment the air around them seemed to hum. "I see them," she whispered. 3 hunters. To the east. 2 more guarding the south. But there is a gap to the west. "If we move fast, we can escape." Raynor nodded. "Then west it is." They slipped out of the ruins, moving quickly but quietly. Solara led the way now, her strange gift guiding her steps. Raynor followed close, his blaster ready. For the first time, he realized something important. This girl was not just a victim to protect. She was a weapon, a compass, a force that could change everything. But she was also fragile, carrying a burden too heavy for anyone so young. As they disappeared into the night, Raynor thought about the core. If Solara was telling the truth, then she was more than just hunted. She was the most dangerous being in the galaxy, and he had chosen to stand by her. The human choice. The ruined city stretched out in silence, but Captain Raynor knew it was not safe. The hunters had pulled back, but they were not gone. They never gave up. They would regroup, surround, and close the trap. Solara walked beside him, her blue eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Her steps were slow, her body tired, but there was a quiet strength in her. She carried herself like someone who had already survived the impossible. Raynor's instincts screamed at him. This was the calm before the storm. They reached the edge of the ruins where the ground sloped down toward the docks. Beyond the broken metal fence, the wide bay shimmered under the moonlight. Old ships floated there, half sunk, their lights dead. Solara stopped suddenly. Her breath quickened. "They're here," she whispered. "They're all around us." Raynor raised his blaster, scanning the shadows. His eyes narrowed. Shapes moved along the rooftops, glowing red visors catching the light. More figures stepped out from the wrecks ahead, weapons raised, hunters. Dozens of them. Raynor cursed under his breath. "Too many," Solara's voice shook. "They won't let us leave. Not alive." The leader of the hunters stepped forward, taller than the rest, his armor black with crimson markings. His voice boomed through a speaker. "Human, you do not understand what you carry. Hand her over. Walk away and we will let you live." Raynor glanced at Solara. Her face was pale, but her eyes met his steadily. She did not beg. She already knew what his choice would cost. He looked back at the hunters. His grip tightened on the blaster. "No deal." The leader tilted his head. "Then you die with her." The hunters moved as one, weapons crackling with energy. Raynor fired first. A bolt struck one hunter, sending him crashing into the dirt. Solara ducked behind cover as beams of red light cut through the night. The ground exploded in bursts of sparks and fire. Raynor rolled, firing again and again, but there were too many. The hunters spread out, boxing them in. "Solara," he shouted. "Now would be a good time for that power of yours." Solara's eyes blazed bright blue. She pressed her hands against the ground. The earth shuddered, and twisted metal rose from the dirt, forming a jagged wall between them and the hunters. Energy blasts slammed into the barrier, shaking it violently. Solara cried out, her body trembling with the effort. Raynor knelt beside her, covering her with his blaster fire. "Hold it, Solara. Just a little longer." The wall cracked. The hunters pressed forward, relentless. Solara's voice broke. "I can't." "It's too much." Raynor grabbed her shoulder. "Listen to me. You're not alone. You don't have to carry this alone." Her eyes widened. For a moment, the blue glow dimmed, replaced by something deeper. Trust. She closed her eyes and pushed harder. The wall exploded outward, sending shards of metal flying into the hunters. Several went down, their armor torn apart. But Solara collapsed, falling into Raynor's arms. Her skin was cold, her breath shallow. The leader stepped through the smoke unharmed. His crimson-marked armor gleamed in the firelight. "You cannot save her," he said. "She is ours." "She was always ours." Raynor raised his blaster, fury burning in his chest. Not anymore. The leader aimed his weapon. A single shot would finish it. But before he could fire, Solara stirred. Her eyes snapped open, glowing brighter than ever before. The air around her crackled with energy, the ground trembling beneath them. "Enough," she whispered. A surge of blue light erupted from her body, flooding the bay with blinding brilliance. The hunters were thrown backward, their weapons ripped from their hands. The leader staggered, his armor cracking under the force. Raynor shielded his face, barely able to withstand the storm. When the light faded, the ground was scorched. Most of the hunters lay unconscious, scattered across the ruins. Only the leader remained standing, his armor damaged but his eyes burning with rage. He pointed at Solara, his voice filled with venom. "This is not the end. The empires will never stop. You cannot protect her, human. She will destroy you." Raynor stepped forward, his blaster steady. "Maybe, but until then she's under my protection." The leader gave a dark laugh, then disappeared into the shadows, retreating with the survivors. Silence fell again, broken only by Solara's ragged breathing. Raynor knelt beside her, lifting her gently. "You did it," he whispered. "You saved us." Her eyes fluttered open, glowing faint but steady. "No, Captain. I only delayed them. They will come again, stronger, and when they do—" Her voice trailed off, her body trembling. Raynor tightened his grip on her hand. "Then we'll be ready." Solara's lips curved into a weak smile. "You still don't understand. This isn't just about me. The core, it will change everything. For humans, for empires, for every world." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "The fate of the galaxy rests in what we do next." Raynor's chest tightened. He looked out across the bay where the stars shimmered above the ruined city. He knew she was right. This was no rescue. This was the beginning of a war, and he had already chosen his side.